Bayview Podcast with hosts Andrew Clark and Chris Emery. This is designed to be a discussion on all things life and faith. We hope this serves as a weekly resource and encouragement to you.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Bayview Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Andrew, joined as always by Pastor Chris Emery. How are you?
I'm doing well, man. How are you doing?
Good. Summer's almost here, or at least it feels like it. We're kind of in the fake time of March and all that at the time of this recording, but
yeah,
we'll see what happens. And
it's good days though. I mean, it's we're getting enough warm weather sprinkled in that kind of gives you that energy to be outside and get active and kind of shake off all the, I don't know, I guess the cobwebs and rust from winter.
Mm-hmm.
Just kind of, I don't know. And it hasn't been a bad winter.
Yeah, no.
So we've
it.
been happy. Yeah. So, always good to be here. Always good to be in the studio. Always good to be with you, all of you midweek. And just each Wednesday being able to come to you and just spend some time with you. We hear a lot of feedback that this has really become a really highlight for a lot of folks. They appreciate that midweek moment of encouragement.
Yeah.
And the different stories, different topics. And so if you're new to the Bayview Podcast, there's not just one thing we do. I think as the intro says, it's a discussion on all things life and faith.
Yeah.
And wherever that gets led, then we go.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
So, well, I'm excited for today. We have a special guest with us. It is my father-in-law, Tom Galbicsek, and so he has decided to join us and spend some time with us. And yeah, how are you, sir?
I'm good, sir. Huh? That's how we're gonna do this.
It just got formal. Yeah. Either that or Andrew's still, playing the son-in-law of like, I'm trying to earn his respect.
Well, I always laugh because when I asked Nicole to, if I could, I asked you guys if I could marry her, and Nora, your wife, my mother-in-law, was like, "Oh yeah, you can call me Mom." Like she was all excited, and was like, and then Nicole's like, "Hey Dad, what can Andrew call you?" You're like, "Tom." And I was like, "Yes, sir."
Oh man.
He can answer when he's spoken to is what he can do.
But no, this is a fun one because obviously we've like we said, this podcast is a hopefully midweek resource for people, and part of that is just hearing other people's stories and other people's just kind of talk through where they're at, how they got there, what they're passionate about, things like that. And so, you, Tom, have been someone that's I've learned a lot from over the 12, 13 years of knowing you. And I do have a high level of respect for you. And I also know that you have a pretty incredible story that I do think would impact a lot of people to hear, even if it's just parts of it. And so, yeah, I'd rather have you kind of describe what is life like now. You're a dad, now a grandfather, and semi-retired, but not. Like, who is Tom Galbicsek?
Well, let me say, first of all, I'm a grateful believer in Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
And that, to me, is a big deal. But I'm happy now. And it wasn't always that way, but I mean, I'm blessed with 4 grandkids, and kids are doing well, staying out of trouble. Yeah. That's all you can ask for as a parent, and you'll see when your kids get older,
yep.
And you have older kids too. So that's really what it is, You did the best you can, set them out in the world.
Yeah.
Go for it.
Yeah.
So myself, I was in the military for a long time, 28 years and 4 months, but I guess more than half of my life, almost half of my life. And, I always picked the hardest jobs. I was a ranger when I first came in. But, the training is very difficult, but it came easy to me. I don't know why. I got through things, no problem. You know, they just told me what to do, and I did it. You know,
Cool.
Forrest Gump type. You know,
I wasn't going to say that, but my mind was saying, like, why did you put that gun together so fast? Because you told me to,
told me
Sergeant.
Yeah, true that. But we trained all the time. That's all we did. And we were at the time in the early 80s, we were the most elite unit there was in the military, bar none. It was not even close. And we were such a cohesive unit, and then we had a chance to go to combat together. And I mean, you could really trust the people on your left and right and with your life, and that was amazing. But it comes with a cost, you know, because after you do all these combat operations and all this stuff, you have to come back and live in society, you know, and you get the adrenaline rush from that. And then there's a deep pit that you go into afterwards, depression, all that, PTSD, whatever. And that's a struggle. I struggled with that, and I tried to diffuse it with alcohol. Yeah, it was a miserable time. I was looking for the next rush, fighting and just all kinds of crazy. But yeah, they let me go, and I became a Green Beret. Same thing. The training wasn't very difficult for me. It's tough, you know. You figure there's 300 people sign up, and maybe half. You know, right now I think it's 40% make it through.
Wow.
Yeah. It came easy for me. I was proud, and that was my life for a long time. I married, and we've had kids. We lived in Japan. It was great. I thought it was great for the kids. They grew up there. That's kind of their home. And not to skip over that part because it's important, but I'd rather talk about what is going on now.
Yeah.
So that's just a little background.
Yeah. No,
obviously, there's a lot of other things to unpack there, but I don't want to tell war stories. I don't want to talk about that stuff.
Totally cool.
Yeah.
Totally cool.
Let's see. I'll tell one story. 2011 in Afghanistan. I was like a bystander over there. And we're, of all things, having pizza one night at this little shack that the commander made. Pizza night. They would serve pizza every screened-in porch. On the other side of it was a beach volleyball court. We had it tough over there. On the other side of that was the chapel. Yeah. You know, it was...
I'm picturing Top Gun, and I know that's not correct, but I'm getting those vibes.
I'm kind of right there with you. The music playing in the background. Yeah. Yeah.
And let me tell you that the movies do no justice for special operations. I mean, oh man, it kills me to watch those. I can't watch them anymore.
Oh, I'm sure.
It's so unreal. Anyway. So we were sitting there eating pizza, and I heard this screeching noise. And right away we knew it was incoming. And normally they have a siren that goes off and loudspeaker, incoming, take cover, incoming, take cover. And right behind us was like a loud thud, and the lights went out. And we didn't know what it was. And this hissing noise. And so we went outside and flashlights on, and we looked, and it took me a minute to realize what it was, but it was a large rocket, probably as long as a 6-foot table, big, like 2 feet across, fins, and it had slammed into a power transformer that was probably 8 foot high and 6 foot wide, metal with all the wiring in it. and it slammed into that thing, and it looked like a cartoon because the tip went through it and kind of made this round thing on the other side about a foot wide long.
No way.
Yeah, like a cartoon thing.
Like it was like a bulge out.
Yeah, it was a
essentially,
bulge out, exactly what it was. And we were looking at it, and it's like, and realized that was a rocket that hit, but it didn't detonate.
Oh my word.
And but the other two did, further away.
Mm.
And so we went over there and did the mass casualty thing. Training takes over. You wind up, prioritizing patients and getting them to care as fast as possible. But the next day we come over, and we were in the kill zone of that rocket.
Mm.
So then you wonder, why did I make it out and those other guys didn't?
Yeah.
The survivor guilt thing. And that stuck with me for a long time. And I thought it was people listening probably thought it's a message from God, right?
Mm-hmm.
You survived for a reason.
Yeah.
I didn't take it as that.
Mm.
I got worse and worse in drinking and self deprivation for years, and it wasn't good.
Mm.
But anyway, that's my story. The worst one, I think.
Yeah. So that was 2011. And so how much longer did you serve then after that?
I was a civilian then.
Oh, okay. So you're already out then. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, I went back over. I
Okay.
can't get enough of whatever. In 2017, I was working for a company, and I spent a lot of time overseas, not in Afghanistan, although I did go there. And I was thinking around that time I was at my lowest point in my life. I had the suicide ideology thing, but never went through with it. I thought people would be better off without me. And I quickly got over that, called some friends from back home in Connecticut where I grew up. And he had been sober for a lot of years. A kid I grew up with, a guy I grew up with my whole life. And he connected me to a veteran, and we started talking. And that was February, 7 years ago. March, April, I went to Poland to work on a camp. And, my daily Monday to Friday was 8 o'clock, go to the camp, help set it up. 4 o'clock or 3 o'clock we would leave, 4 o'clock home, go to the gym, 5 o'clock, as soon as I finished, mini bar in my room, start drinking. And I knew the only thing I had to do was I had to call my wife prior to when I started slurring because I didn't want her to know. But it always happened. You're always, it's so, you look back at it and it's so comical because you try to hide these things.
Right.
And you can't.
Right.
One of the breaking points was I woke up one morning, and I would turn my phone off because I knew 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock I would pass out, and this was a cyclic thing. I woke up one morning, and I noticed I had a message from our COO of our company, and said, "Hey, you probably need to get some sleep." And I said, well, I thought I turned my phone off. And I look, and I had a 9-minute conversation with him, and I didn't remember.
Whoa.
Yeah. So fast forward to July, 4th of July, the next day I went into the hospital and entered a program. Yeah. And, programs, how they are. First week, you're in denial. Second week, you start feeling better. Third week, you feel you have a cape on. You can help everybody, right?
Yeah. I've kicked it.
Yeah.
I want to help everybody now. And then I quit my job. They were really good about helping me through this, keeping me on the payroll. And I was retired, so I had a retirement check coming in. And so there I was. And sober, started going to meetings, AA, and I just prayed about, I just said, hey, I don't know what I'm going to do now. You tell me. And in November, a guy, a pastor, Dan Wood, and I started a program at our church, R3, it was called, a recovery type program. And meeting him and working with him was awesome. I get a call in November from a friend, said, hey, you want a job overseas in Abu Dhabi? I said, yeah, you know. So I started prepping for going over there. And that was changed my life, you know, that whole thing over there. And and that's where the journey, recovery journey, really began in a Muslim country.
Really?
Imagine that.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So then what year was it that you started working in Abu Dhabi? And you would
2018.
2018. So you go for like, it's like 2 months at a time.
Yep.
You would go over.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been like that since 2018, right?
Yes.
Every year. Even we were laughing last night talking about the COVID years and just the crazy shenanigans that were over there.
What
Which
a mess.
Yeah, but you've kind of shared with us as a family, like you've kind of found like a faith community and things like that over there in this Muslim country.
Wow.
So just a quick background, because people probably can't point the UAE out on a map. It's bordered with Saudi Arabia and Oman, and is 40 kilometers across the water to Iran, Iraq, Afghanistan. So that's where it is. There's 11 million people there, 2 million of which are locals. Everyone else comes to work. Okay, everyone probably has heard of Dubai. I'm an hour from that. And so it's a Muslim country. They're Arabs. But they, having all those people coming over transit and working, they let everyone practice their faith over there.
Okay.
So there's churches.
Yep.
I think the Kennedys, I think that was their name in the 60s or maybe earlier. Two people, husband and wife, went over there, and they were in Al Ain, and they met with one of the sheikhs there. And he was so interested in Catholicism that he let them build a church there.
Wow.
Imagine that, what
Wow.
two people can do.
Wow.
Right, and that place is still, and there has a hospital there now too. And so they were really good about letting people practice faith. In 2018, going into 2019, I went to New Life Church there. And I met some pretty awesome people that changed my life. And I'd like to talk about 3 of them.
Yeah.
And how that looked. So actually there's 4 people. Bud, who I was my coworker, really kind of solidified my journey to Christ, because I think I was a Christian, but I had never, Sunday church guy, the family, but never really took that step.
Yeah.
They call it a leap of faith, but I think it's just more of a step, isn't it? And think about it, I was a Ranger, Green Beret. I don't need this stuff. I can do it on my own, because that's what we were taught to be hyper vigilant, to be on guard, to not show weakness. For years. That's your training. And my wife really hates this term, but admit nothing, deny everything, make counter accusations.
Wow.
Triangle T-shirt. That's how we lived.
Yeah.
Wow.
You know. So a lot of ego, a lot of pride, you know, goes with that. So, yeah, this guy Bud really helped me out a lot. And we went through an alpha course together that he led.
Cool.
And, you know, it just, you know, started the thought process. And then I went to the church. Now the church is Protestant, I guess, for all intents and purposes, but the pastor is from South Africa. At the time, I think there was maybe 10 Americans out of a congregation of 100. So you have Africans from all different countries in Africa. You had people from Colombia, people from Spain, Australia, everywhere, because they all come to work there.
Yeah.
Indian.
Wow.
Yeah. A lot of people from India. And I started to meet these people, and it was amazing. The congregation over there was the church family, and it's transient just like anything else. So there was a turnover.
Yeah.
So yeah, I met these guys. Pedro, he was from. I'm drawing a blank right now. Let me go to George first. George is from Liberia, grew up there. And so if you figure in the 70s, 80s when he grew up, if you were of fighting age, teenager, you were going to fight with one of the tribes there.
Wow.
Or they would, you know, lop your head off.
Yeah.
It wasn't any, that was it. It was either fight or die. Okay. He was going to get food for his family, and on the way back got shot. Okay, here's a 12-year-old kid. Imagine that. They didn't take him because he was injured, recovering, but the whole time is their faith pulled them through this. You know, his uncle took him and said, "Hey, you're going to get out. We're going to get you out of here." Took him to the embassy, and you know, a year or two later, he made it to the U.S.
Wow.
You know, but he tells me, we talk about it all the time. His faith. Imagine that. The only thing he had, and that's what.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's what got him through. So, you know, wow, eye opener. And then another guy, Haitham, from Jordan, Muslim. Okay. About 15 years ago, he picks up the Bible, wanted to see what it was, read a couple of verses, and changed his life. Became a Christian. And think about that.
Yeah.
If you're a Muslim and you convert, your family is shunned. It could be death. It could be a lot of things. And he's stuck with it. He's in seminary now. He's going to be a pastor. But think about that.
Yeah.
The commitment, the faith, just reading a couple of Bible verses.
And knowing the consequences that are coming.
100%. Family disown you.
Yeah, still choosing to do that.
Right?
Wow. Man.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard for us to fathom because we don't even have context for that level of consequence.
No.
Of just a decision we make.
Yeah.
Outside of something criminal, right? I mean.
Yep.
So, and the other guy, and I'm friends with these guys still all the time.
So cool.
We talk, and it's amazing their faith. You know, Haitham is now getting married. in July, going to his wedding. We prayed for a long time for him to find a wife, and she's from Canada, and amazing story. You know, and when you know somebody like that and go through a lot of the things that he went through, almost denying his faith, and you have to help him. Think about that. I'm new Christian. I had to dive in, and me and Bud, we had to help him through that time because he thought he was going to convert back at one time.
Was he wanting to convert back because he was doubting his belief, or because it was more about the consequences, fear for his life, losing family?
It was more about his mom was pressuring him to get married. They have arranged marriages over there based on the system, like your monetary system. He's an engineer, so they would connect him with somebody at that level, family. And he was questioning why he didn't have a wife. Why he, he's praying and thought he was on the verge of, transferring back. And, we just, through friendship, just helped him out a lot. And about that time, I actually, I don't know when it was, but I actually asked God to come into my life and take over. And immediately I could feel the Holy Spirit.
Wow.
And that's what us helping. So he helped me get to that point, and then I helped him back.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And before I get to Pedro, I was baptized in a Muslim country in a canal.
That's awesome.
Epic.
Yeah, really. Pretty cool. You have to go to a Muslim country to find Christ. Whatever it takes, right?
Yep. 100%.
Yeah.
100%.
You just never know where you're going to find that. So Pedro from Angola, another Muslim country, I think I don't know how much, 30-year civil war there. And I did the math, like he's 30-something. Spent his whole life in Angola, civil war.
Yeah.
Bullet holes in his kitchen, fending for food, faith, like, we're going to get out of this.
Yeah.
Okay. Think about that. I try to explain this to Americans. They can't fathom that.
Yeah. I don't have any understanding of what that would be like. Like, I fight with my brother every once in a while, and that's not even a thing.
We have no context for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And here is this guy and his wife, Victorina, and they're awesome people, really close friends. And their faith brought them to the UAE, and they worked, and now Pedro's same thing. He's in seminary. He's going to be a pastor, and his goal is in the next 2 years to go back to Angola and start a church.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I encourage you as a church maybe to help him out.
You know what?
That'd be kind of cool.
I have to do that. Yeah. I mean, that is.
Yeah.
But those three things, those three people going through that, but their faith. How could I not turn to Jesus? Really? Think about that. That's in your face, true faith.
Yeah.
You can't deny. And so that really helped me in my recovery a lot. And so I wanted to share that.
Yeah. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Not with not with just the testimonies and talking, but actually help others.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm doing
Yeah.
when I'm not over there.
Mm-hmm.
You've heard of Celebrate Recovery?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Yeah, so that started in the 90s, Rick Warren
Mm-hmm.
and John Baker. And it's not unlike AA, 12-step program, but it's Christian-based.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So it's really good. And we have a CR group that we meet every Thursday. And I am one of the leaders now and leader of the men's group. And I take it seriously because I know the guys that come in are like me, military, a lot of them, a lot of trauma, a lot of, self-loathing, self-deprivation. So I get it.
Mm-hmm.
And, I mentor some of the guys, I sponsor some of the guys.
Yeah.
And even this podcast, if one person hears something like, wow, and can turn their life around, that's what it's all about.
Yeah.
The 99 and the 1, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
We don't let the 1 go away.
Yeah.
And I have to tell these guys all the time. What's our line? Tom Israel is, hey, this group, it's not a secret service.
Yeah.
Okay, we need to get out there
Mm-hmm.
and bring others in.
Yeah.
We're comfortable sharing with one another everything.
Yep.
The
Yeah.
problem is that's what we do. Share with each other. We need
Yeah.
to bring more people in.
Yeah.
And so that's what we try to do.
Well, as you're talking, I just keep thinking back. A couple weeks ago at church, we talked a lot about our past. That we all have these pasts that have created deep wounds in us, and as wounds heal, they result in scars. And we could hide our scars because of the shame of how we got the wound, or we can let God use our scars as a testimony of His healing. And as you tell your story and encouraging these other guys to let your story be told to help that one listener, that one person, that one individual at a coffee shop, whatever it may be, that's you saying, okay, God, you only God has the power to use the dark and pain of our past for His own glory.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
It can't be anything else.
But we have to allow that, meaning like, okay, I'm not going to hide it. I'm not going to be, none of us love our past, but when we let God use it, all of a sudden it begins to turn into something beautiful. And because we watch Him use our scars for life change and helping others. And I just love that about your story, because you have the scars that would speak to people that I can't speak to.
Mm-hmm.
I can't relate to so many of these amazing individuals that have served our country, and they've gone over and they've experienced combat, and they've come back with those emotional wounds, physical wounds.
Yeah.
I don't have any street cred to talk about that.
Yeah.
But you do.
Yeah. And that's I have to use that.
Yeah.
I have to so others can benefit. Again, it's not a secret service. There's no reason to hold it in. If people can get help, be helped, it's amazing.
Yeah.
I'm working with a guy right now, and he's overcome so much. And I said, and trust me, I don't do this nicely. Okay?
Good.
I tell them,
Yeah.
no, this is what you need to do.
Good.
Yeah.
I'm in their face.
Yeah.
What's your hurt, habit, and hang up today? What are you struggling with?
Wow.
And they understand that type of talking.
Yeah.
Talk.
Yeah.
Like a normal, I'm saying average churchgoer probably would be turned off by that. But
You'd probably make them cry.
yeah, and that's
they'd
not
run.
the
cry for the bad reasons. So,
but to see these guys, heal, and now the person I'm working with, while I'm gone, he took over, so he's a leader now. and he's sponsoring another guy.
Wow.
And a year ago, I didn't even want to sponsor him
Mm.
because his past was so bad. There's some really, really bad people in this
Mhm.
world.
Yeah.
And it not combatants. I'm talking average people.
Yeah. Oh
Yeah.
yeah. Oh yeah.
And some of the stories I heard, I was, I can't talk about it. But anyway, he
Yeah.
has recovered in the last year,
Wow.
and you know, he's sponsoring somebody now, and that's
Wow.
what it's about.
Yeah.
You know, if you can do that, it's pretty awesome.
Do you feel like, just as you've shared and we've talked, do you feel like a lot of what you've seen or learned is almost like the, how do I say it, like the benefit or the positive side of vulnerability? Like in the sense of, I feel like even when you talk about like your military, you're taught to like be anti-vulnerable is basically what you're taught.
Yes.
And even like as you come in and your sobriety and a lot of that has been, I feel like, centered around this idea of really being willing to be open
Mhm.
and the benefit that comes with that, basically being real. Like you don't have to protect the ego that
Well,
that is
and
there.
it still pops up. Trust me, you know, because of that training
Mhm.
and the things that you've done and the past, but going through the steps,
yeah
programs, AA, and now Celebrate Recovery, you put that stuff behind,
yeah.
and then you work on your daily routine.
yeah
You know, what's today?
Hmm.
You know, it's a cliche, one day at a time, but that's the way you have to look
Sure.
at it, you know,
Yeah.
because we don't know what tomorrow's going to be.
Yeah.
And what does Jesus say?
Yep.
Don't worry about tomorrow.
Yep.
yeah
Deny
Okay.
yourself every day and get at it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, the guys that I worked with, years ago, we were, we were the best alcoholics, you know, and they continue to do that to this day. And I feel for them, you know, I
Wow.
really do. Because it was all about greed.
Mm-hmm.
How much, what can I buy? What can I
Yeah.
do? And I got caught up in that.
Yeah.
And the one Bible verse that really struck, well, there's many of them, but it's easier to thread a camel through the eye of a needle than get a rich man into heaven.
Mm-hmm.
yeah
Wow. You know, stuff like that
Yep.
is, to me, one thing.
Mm-hmm.
Amazing. you
Yeah.
know? And that stuck with me. I wrote it on the board over at work.
yeah
I work with a bunch of FBI guys, CIA guys. That don't even get me started. Okay.
We don't want
And
somebody
I
to come in and
wrote
shut us
that.
down. You know, we don't. Door gets kicked in.
I wrote that on the board.
Yeah.
And somebody's like, wow, that's a pretty cool saying. Who wrote that?
No way.
And you just never know.
yeah.
Something like that
yeah
may get somebody interested in asking questions. And one thing that I really harp on our group is you always have to be prepared.
Mhm.
And in sales, we call it the elevator pitch,
Mm-hmm.
that you have to sell your product or your company
Yep.
on that, going up in an elevator. That's the way you have to sell Jesus.
Hmm.
If you get approached by somebody that thinks they're an atheist,
yeah
I don't believe there's any
Mm.
such thing,
Mm-hmm.
because everybody believes in something,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's money or
yeah
Yeah. Yeah.
porn or addiction,
Yeah.
or,
yeah
Totally.
you know,
You're right.
everybody does. So I don't, but anyway, the point is, you know, you have to be prepared. What are you going to tell them
Mm.
when they say, well, show me a miracle? What are you going to say?
Mm-hmm.
And I give them some examples, but I have them write down a small testimony, and that's what you say.
Yeah.
This is how it was.
That's right.
This is what happened, and this is me now.
Mhm.
Okay.
That's it.
The one kind of cheesy one that I used on them as an example was, well, turn water into wine.
Mm.
So I'm the water.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I was. Now I'm the wine.
Mm-hmm.
Things like that. Just simple things that you have to be prepared. And that's one thing that I really work on with, because you're going to get challenged.
And we're told to be ready. We're told to be ready at a moment's notice to share why you have this hope.
Yeah.
But really our hope is in the fact that we have an eternity in Jesus Christ. And it's interesting because we are actually having this exact conversation this morning with a Bible group with a Bible study group I lead with a bunch of men. And it was all about that. Like, hey, know your story. Yeah. And it's so simple in that, just what you said. I tell guys all the time, who I was before Jesus, how I met Jesus, and who I am because of Jesus.
Yeah.
That's really what people want to hear. They don't want to hear a pastor come in and give a 5-point sermon. They don't want to hear a bunch of theology. They just want to hear, what did Jesus do for you? And
why should
I trust him? Why should I give it a shot? Because I've said this maybe even on the podcast, what Andrew and I do when we preach or when we speak from a stage is we tell people all the promises of what Jesus can and wants to do. But what your story and all of our stories say is what Jesus has done.
Yes.
That has so much power.
Yeah.
And the miracle is in the turning point of the biggest miracle is Jesus forgave your sins.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Jesus forgave a wretch like me, all the filth, all the things of my past, and yet in a moment's notice, through his blood, he paid the price and he forgave me. Boom.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what an incredible miracle story.
And, you get challenged when you cross over or whatever to some people in my field in the past. Or you're a Bible thumper now. I'm like, what are you talking about?
Mm-hmm.
You're a do-gooder, now you go to church. I'm like, hey, listen, man. Those people in church are there for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
They're broken.
Mm-hmm.
They need help. They may be on their last leg.
Yeah.
And they decided to try this route.
Yeah.
There's no do-gooders.
Nope.
Ooh.
They,
Yeah,
there's
true.
You see 500 people, there's probably 500 broken people.
100%.
You know?
Yeah.
100%.
And then all of a sudden it kind of clicks.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I'm sure you've heard it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we hear it all the time, but and it's something, it's like, well, no, reality is we're all a bunch of sinners saved by grace, doing the best we can to follow Jesus and still needing grace along the way.
Yeah.
And there's no do-gooders. There's nothing we've done anywhere near good enough to result in any of this.
Yeah.
Man, it's just, like you said, we're broken.
Yeah.
And when you get broken, you fall on your face before Jesus, well, then he comes in and does what only he can do.
Mm.
And there's no other, and that's maybe where some people wrestle with, they need more, formula to it. They need more details. It's like, well, I can't explain the supernatural. If I could, it would be natural.
Yeah.
But Jesus does the supernatural internal work.
Yes.
And I can't tell you how, but I can tell you what happens on the other end is that I'm healed, I'm free. One thing I see with you, Tom, and I knew a little bit of your story, and just knew some of your background before we had a chance to sit down and do this. But every time I've met you, you walk with a spirit of peace, which is so extraordinary because it's not just that you give peace, but like you seem to have a peace with what God has done inside of you, and you seem to be at peace, and that's really powerful. Hearing a lot of your story and knowing your background. I mean, you and I had a chance to compete together in the combat zone of pickleball the other night, right?
A beat down.
So Tom and I continually got whooped. Like we got taken down by, now they were younger than we were and, whatever. But
one of them was pregnant.
Well, this is true. We got beat by a pregnant lady.
She's like 6 months pregnant and she's killing us out there. I'm like,
oh, wow. But
Chris,
the reality,
this is all your fault.
I own it. But like I've been around guys that lack that inner peace, and there's so much insecurity, and there's so much inner conflict that even something like silly competition, pickleball, softball, whatever, it would just set them off. And because you can't contain the rage. You can't contain anger and hurt. And even then, like, we were laughing it off.
Yeah.
Obviously, I want to win, but I don't know. I see that in you, and I think that is something that I imagine a lot of our listeners, whatever your background is, man, there's peace when Jesus comes in and takes control.
Yeah, and it wasn't always that way. And I'll tell you that, again, I went through some of the hardest military training there is, and this is so much harder than that. I used to tell people I'd rather go when we simulated POW in these little cages.
Wow.
Sometimes I thought I'd rather go back into that than to do this.
Wow.
Because it's difficult, and I think that's why a lot of people fail, or not fail, or keep trying over and over again, is because it's hard. It really is.
Yeah.
You know, you really have to be vulnerable. You have to put yourself out there. And my kids will tell you that I used to stare down their friends, and everyone was afraid of me and didn't know I was doing it, but doing it. Probably Andrew has a little.
I don't know, Andrew. Are you afraid of your father-in-law at any level?
Well, again, when I asked if I could marry Nicole, I did it over Skype, and I had like a 5-year plan, and I was like, I got all this. I said, Tom, I know you know people who know everything about me, so I'm not worried. But I'd actually say, since meeting you to now, and just spending a lot of time and traveling and all that and being around you, like, that idea of peace, I think, is a real thing. It, like, Nicole and I would always laugh of, like, when we would go visit in the early years, it was like, we always had to be doing something, is what it felt like. And I don't know if, I think that's just kind of how your family was, but I don't know if for you, like, some of that was tied up in just keeping yourself busy and distracted.
Probably.
And now it's like there's such a sense of, man, that word peace is so true. Like, there's such a sense of just, like, being around you, or knowing when, like, you and Nora are coming to visit, there's such an excitement because, like, oh yeah, Nana and Papa are showing up for the kids. But I think for Nicole and I, it's like, you know, especially, I don't know, there is just a sense of, like, warmness that is around you. Like, oh, let's spend time. Like, we look forward to spending time with you guys. And not that we didn't in the past, but it just, there's a genuineness to it. And so,
Yeah. And I thought, you and I connected a lot more after your father passed, because we had that in common. My dad passed when I was young, and I never knew him. He was sick when I was growing up.
Wow.
And he died from kidney failure. So,
yeah,
you know, I was always searching for a dad. And, you know, I found it in the military.
Yeah.
I found it in different people.
Yeah.
But I wanted to reach out and say, hey, look, you know, I'm here.
Yeah.
If you need something. Now, in the past, I would never have done that.
Wow.
I don't think so.
Wow.
You know, and I realized that, you know, I've been through that.
Yeah.
So I could help you out. And we've had some great conversations.
Yeah. No, and I've seen that, and I've felt that and experienced that, and I think that's something that's I'm really grateful for. And it's, you know, I don't really believe in coincidences, like, in that kind of stuff. And I just think there's something really, like, to know your story of sobriety and, like, your life, and that was turning and happening, you know, and you kind of were in it. And then when my dad passed, like, there's a lot of, like, the timing of everything that's just very, like, I would say God oriented.
Yeah.
And I think
100%.
there's that's been really special. And so, yeah.
Well, and to
I'm
see
definitely
you
good for
come out
that.
on the other side here,
Yeah.
really can put you at peace too.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Yeah.
Working with Chris and everybody here.
Yeah.
I can
It's
see
been
that,
awesome.
Really, I think you were a little bit. You were kind of walking on eggshells for a long time, yeah, because you didn't know whether you're going to be let go one day, or you're going to be in charge one day, and that's a lot, man, to go through. So, yeah, I get it.
That's been good.
Well, Tom, I can't even express to you how much we appreciate you coming on and sharing your story and just sharing your heart with us. Man, it just, wow. I mean, crazy good stuff. Yeah. And we'd love to continue this conversation next time you're around.
Sure.
If you want to come back on and just maybe update us on how things are going in Abu Dhabi with the church and just.
Yeah,
I know you got
really
more
quick
stories
about that church.
Yeah.
There was 90 people at a gathering, and I was the only American. Think about that.
Yeah.
Think about when people go to church here, they know each other.
Yeah.
And, I mean, all these countries represented, and everyone wore their clothing, cultural clothing from
Very
their
cool.
area. And, oh, man, I have a video I'll have to show you. It's amazing where these people and their faith, and it just, and being the only one there, I feel great.
Yeah, how cool is that?
And I brought a guy there one day. He made the best comment. I said, "Hey, what do you think about this church?" And he goes, "This is what it's going to be like in heaven."
100%. Yep, I was seeing
It's
that.
not going to be all white or black.
Nope.
This is what it's going to be like from everywhere.
Yeah.
And I said, "Wow,
It's
that's
true.
so cool."
But one voice and one heart praising one God from all the diversity in the room.
Wow.
I had a chance a couple of years ago to be at a big pastors gathering. We partner with World Vision, and there was hundreds of pastors and spouses from all over the world in one room, and it was that same thing. I mean, the ethnic diversity, the different denominations, different ways they worship, all in one room. And man, the voices just crying out to God. I stopped with tears in my eyes and just videotaped it.
Yeah.
And I had that same thought, and this is like a little glimpse of heaven.
Yeah.
I could tell stories all day about these people who grew up with witch doctors.
Yeah.
And denounced that and said, "No, there's God." You know what I mean? It's different cultures.
We're gonna book it then. So next time you're up, because now you've done it. Now I can ask you, because I asked Andrew even like last week. I was like, "All right, did you confirm with Tom?" And he's like, "Not really." I said, Are you scared? He goes, "Chris, I'm scared of a lot of things." But no more fear, because, dude, you have just really blessed our hearts, man, and just your stories. And I know our listeners are going to be just so moved by what you shared. And so let's definitely do this again.
Yeah.
Because this is what this time is all about. It's time of encouragement, faith stories, and dialogue, and just we're all in this together.
Yeah.
We're all in this journey together, and I love that you share stories of the people you've walked through, and a guy that walked with you and helped you. You had the chance then to turn around and help him, and that's the Bible talks about strands of three, and that sad day for the guy that falls on the road by himself and there's nobody there to pick him up.
Yeah, and the weird thing is, we were at Andrew's son Liam's birthday, I think, a year ago, and sitting there, and I think it was Leah, and I just met her, and she's like, "What are your plans for the future?" And I said, immediately, is to help others.
Cool.
And I'm like, where did that come from, man? It's like, it just came out right away. So
that's the Holy Spirit, man.
Yeah,
it is
crazy, isn't it?
Well, hey, thank you so much for being with us today on the Bayview Podcast. I hope it's been as awesome for you as it has been for us, just getting to sit here and take it in. Yeah. If you haven't clicked subscribe yet, do that, whatever platform you're on. That way you never miss an episode. We're here each and every Wednesday, and we will definitely look forward to the next time Tom is able to join us and continue this dialogue. But until then, this is Chris, Andrew, and Tom. Thank you for being with us, and we will see you next time around.